Hayward Field has hosted world records and Olympic champions for decades. But on the 4th of July, it hosted something almost nobody saw coming. A 21-year-old sprinter from Ikorodu, Nigeria, lined up next to the reigning world champion in the deepest 100-meter field of the season and beat him outright. Kanyinsola Ajayi crossed the line in 9.84 seconds at the 2026 Prefontaine Classic, tying his own Nigerian record and knocking off Jamaica's Oblique Seville in his very first Diamond League race ever. This is how it happened, and why track and field may have just found its next great rivalry. Hayward Field carries a weight most stadiums simply don't have. Built on the University of Oregon campus, the venue is soaked in the legacy of Steve Prefontaine, the fearless Oregon distance runner, whose relentless racing style turned a small college town into the beating heart of American track and field. Nike itself was born out of this same soil, and every summer since 1975, the Oregon Track Club has used the Prefontaine Classic to honor that legacy by bringing together the very best athletes on the planet. This year's edition delivered on every promise across 2 packed days of competition. National record holders fell, world-leading marks were rewritten, and a men's 100-meter field boasting 7 of the 10 highest-ranked sprinters in the world all lined up under the same Eugene sky, chasing a piece of history on a track that practically demands it. The 2-day meet had already backed up its reputation before the men's 100 even reached the track. On day 1, China's Zhang Jialei threw a personal best of 77.94 meters in the hammer, a mark that also stood as a new under-20 world record. American miler Nikki Hiltz broke a 38-year-old meeting record to beat Kenyan superstar Faith Kipyegon in the Bowerman Mile, while Kenya's Lillian Odira held off British record holder Keely Hodgkinson in a thrilling women's 800 meters. By the time the men's 100-meter finalists stepped onto the track on day 2, the crowd inside Hayward Field was already primed for something special, and the field assembled for them delivered exactly that. Going into the race, Oblique Seville looked like the man to beat. The Jamaican sprinter arrived in Eugene as the reigning world champion from Tokyo, where he had blitzed a personal best of 9.77 to capture his first individual global title the previous September. Just days before Eugene, Seville had also clocked a world-leading 9.82 at the Jamaican National Championships, arriving in Oregon with real momentum and a target firmly on his back. This marks Seville's first ever Prefontaine Classic appearance, and only his second race on Hayward Field's famous surface, after finishing 4th there at the 2022 World Championships. But Ajayi does not walk into this race as an underdog either. The Auburn University sprinter had spent his entire 2026 season rewriting Nigeria's record books, tying Christian Coleman's collegiate 60-meter record indoors at 6.45, then blazing to a wind-aided 9.72 at the NCAA Outdoor Championships to claim the national college title outright. Weeks earlier, at the NCAA East Regional, Ajayi had already run a fully legal 9.84, breaking a Nigerian national record that had stood untouched since 2006. Kenny Bednarek and Christian Coleman rounded out a field loaded with danger. Bednarek, a 2-time Olympic silver medalist, had run 9.79 on this very same Hayward Field track the year before, while Coleman still holds the outright NCAA record at 9.82. Jamaica's Akeem Blake, the reigning Diamond League final champion, and Australia's national record holder Lachlan Kennedy, added even more firepower. Ajayi's path to this line hadn't come out of nowhere either. Born in September 2004 in Ikorodu, Nigeria, he first turned heads by sweeping both sprints at a local school championship as a teenager, before winning gold in the 100 meters and the 4x100 relay at the African Under-20 Championships in Zambia. He claimed the Nigerian national title in the 100 meters in 2024 and represented his country at the Paris Olympics that same summer, still just a raw talent with obvious speed but little global experience. Moving to Auburn University changed everything. Under a new training environment and a heavier collegiate schedule, Ajayi's times dropped year after year. That ended Nigeria's 18-year wait for a world championship finalist. everything that followed in 2026. The record-breaking indoor season, the wind-aided 9.72, the Nigerian record, was building toward a moment exactly like this one. When the gun fired, Seville exploded out of the blocks, exactly the way a world champion should. For the first 30 meters, the Jamaican sprinter held the lead, driving hard through his acceleration phase, with Ajayi tucked in just behind him. But that lead didn't last long. Right around the 30-meter mark, Ajayi's stride began opening up, and the Nigerian sprinter surged past Seville with a burst of top-end speed that completely changed the complexion of the race. From there, Ajayi never looked back. He powered through the second half of the race with total control, crossing the line in 9.84 seconds, while Seville, unable to respond, settled for second in 9.89. According to official Omega splits, Ajayi hit the 60-meter mark in 6.36 seconds, well clear of both Coleman and Seville, who were tied at 6.41. His closing 40 meters came in at 3.48 seconds, a devastating final burst that simply overwhelmed the rest of the field. The significance of that result goes far beyond a single race in Oregon. Ajayi didn't just win his Diamond League debut. He beat a reigning world champion on one of the sport's biggest stages, something Nigerian sprinting hasn't managed at this level in decades. Before this season, Nigeria hadn't produced a men's 100-meter finalist at a world championships in 18 years. A drought Ajayi broke last September in Tokyo when he ran a personal best 9.88 in the heats and finished sixth in the final. Now, in the span of a single summer, Ajayi has become the second fastest collegiate sprinter in American history behind only Christian Coleman, swept both the NCAA indoor and outdoor sprint titles for Auburn, and defeated a reigning world champion in his very first professional Diamond League appearance. And more like the arrival of a genuine global contender. So what happens next? Oblique Seville still holds the world title, and world champions rarely stay quiet for long after a loss like this one. Expect the Jamaican sprinter to come back hungry at the next major Diamond League stop, looking to reassert himself before the season builds toward the Diamond League final later this year. Both men now carry crucial points in the overall Diamond League standings. For Ajayi, the challenge now shifts from proving he belongs among the world's elite to proving he can do it consistently against the deepest fields on the planet, race after race, on foreign soil, without the comfort of a home crowd behind him. If his 2026 season is any indication, betting against him would be a mistake. The kid from Ikorodu has already broken a national record that stood for 20 years, beaten a reigning world champion, and turned heads across an entire sport in the span of a few short months. If you want more breakdowns like this one, covering the biggest results and rising stars across track and field, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next race recap. Drop a comment with who you think wins the rematch between Ajayi and Seville, and we will see you in the next one.